You're listening to the Back Home Network, presented by Home Field Apparel.
All right, folks, welcome back to CrimsonCASH. Scott here with you. I'm taking a break from the basketball previews, which have been fun, to unfortunately dip our toe back into football talk. We have CrimsonCASH with James. James, I missed you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Scott. At this point, I may be the last person on earth that has not done a basketball preview podcast with you. So
I have like 4 more coming. I'm loaded up. Dude, I had a week off. I'm good. And we got to talk. Well, real quick, we'll do the Home Field talk. Home Field Apparel is the proud sponsor of the Home Network. Check them out, homefieldapparel.com. Tons of great stuff. I'm wearing my original Marshall Home Field Apparel sweatshirt. This is the one that got me going. I love this Marshall sweatshirt. It's an awesome look, and people are like, why are you so into West Virginia? It's like, dude, it's a cozy sweatshirt. It's fantastic, and we are in hoodie weather. So check them out, and you can use the promo code HOME23 for 15% off your first purchase. Home Field Apparel, wear one for the team, or wear Marshall for me. So, James, we got to talk, because I'm away for a week, and I come back, and I'm prepping, listening to last week's CrimsonCASH, and it's like a couple things. You guys had me in the Galapagos Islands searching for turtles. You put me in a Matthew Broderick movie. Like, I'm not saying I need to be Ferris Bueller, but can I at least be the Matthew Broderick from War Games, or the one where he like trains monkeys to do the fighter pilots? Like, you picked the most obscure Matthew Broderick movie for me. I'm very disappointed.
no, you're lucky we gave you Matthew Broderick. So take the win and move on.
Was Eric Stoltz off the table, or
Yes.
There's that. I also will say, man, you are this would be like if I left my 10-year-old home alone. We always say one of our rules, like, no cooking. Just that's always a rule, no cooking. But if he cooked and he's like, I turned on the stove and, I played with some matches, but the house isn't burned down. Dude, you're betting Iowa over-unders without me. Like, you made it. You made the over-under on, I think, 30. But, dude, stop doing that. Like, we have rules in place for a reason. We have a society built. There are laws. Save yourself, my friend.
Blame the referees for that one, because they fucking screwed over the Hawkeyes and any over bettors there. I could not believe it. That was the worst call I'd seen all year in football, until the next day when I lost money on the Colts from the worst call I've seen all year in football. So don't get me started on that. But we did win our big bet.
You bet the under, right? I thought you went under on that 30.
No, I went over.
I thought you went under.
No, I went over.
Oh, I take back my analogy. Then you did burn the house down.
I did.
No cooking.
But in my defense, I had it. I still don't get that call. I don't get how they can look at the replay and overturn it. It just boggles my mind.
James, say it with me. I will not bet Iowa over-unders.
I will not bet Iowa over-unders when Scott's around.
All right. I mean, okay. You keep those rules in place. I would listen to yourself, and your 401k will thank me. All right, let's look at this. By the way, those 2 Colts calls were bananas. Like, that was egregious.
I had him like plus 350 on the money line that I'd grabbed earlier in the game, and I was convinced I was about to win that bet. And oh my God, the wife had not seen me that angry at a football game in quite some time.
Was she a fan? Did she enjoy that?
No, she usually leaves the house. So she's usually gone during all football events. But this was so late in the game, she had returned home by then. And her and the dogs were quite confused.
So we are on a gambling, discussion podcast. I'll give you my. So I went to the Pacers game last night. My son is turning into a big NBA fan thanks to 2K. So he has all kinds of odd NBA thoughts. Like, he's like big into like Alfred Sagoon with the Rockets. It's like just because he's on 2K. I don't know. Lost. So we have a DTMT, which is don't tell mom temporarily, because we end up telling mom everything anyway. But DTMTs, which are we normally bet first to score at the game. I let my son, oddly named James, also pick that. We picked Obi Toppin, didn't work out. But I had a nice parlay I thought you'd be proud of. Pacers money line, and then Benedict Mathurin to score 10 points, Obi Toppin to score 10, Kyle Kuzma to score 15. Halliburton to record 6+ assists, and Miles Turner to record 1 block. And $10, won 28 back.
Nice. I had a couple bets on that game as well. I had Matherin 18 plus, and he barely got that.
Yeah.
But he did. And I had a parlay where I had Kuzma over 18 and a half. I had Halliburton 10 plus assists, and I had Miles Turner under 1.5 threes. So that hit too. So it's good to have the NBA back.
Oh, it is. And I will say, if it's anything like last year, I'd say the first 25 games, Matherin's point total per game was just way off. Like he was getting 15, 16 points a game, and it was like Matherin, like you could add like Matherin plus 6 points to a parlay for a long time.
Well, he was 14 and a half last night, and I took it at plus odds at 17 and a half, and I ended up getting it at 280 plus 288.
Okay.
For over 17 and a half, which is great odds because I used a boost on DK. But
shout out to FanDuel, by the way, on a parlay. They have a really nice tracker of the bet, showing you exactly where you are on each of the. I'll show it to you on my phone here. Like each of the legs, it actually shows you like a little like tracker and shows you like, you know, you need to get to 10 points, you're at 24. You need to get to 10 assists, you're at 19. Like a little, like almost like a little like football across the line kind of thing.
DraftKings has started doing that too.
Yeah.
And PointsBet has it, but you have to refresh and update it yourself on PointsBet, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, no dice on that. I'm also going to ask you some future NBA props here at the end, but let's get to what people are here for, which is our NCAA football picks. And in the Big Ten, let's. By the way, I meant to add. I'll start one. I'm sorry. Horrible podcast. I'm thinking of something I was about to do. I forgot to do it ahead of time, so I'll do it while you're talking, which is also not great behind the curtain stuff here. I'm going to shut up and just let you go to the Maryland at Northwestern game. Maryland is a 13.5-point favorite going into Evanston.
Okay, so Maryland has lost 2 in a row, and they're coming in against a not great but scrappy Northwestern team that just covered against Nebraska on the road. But Maryland's had a week off to prepare for this game. They still need to get to bowl eligibility. They need another win to do that. So I'm going to take Maryland. I'm going to take them 13.5. If this thing gets over 14, I'm not as interested. But as long as it stays under 2 touchdowns, I'm still interested in Maryland.
I think it'll stay there. I mean, it's opened at 13.5.
I think it
stayed at 13.5. Like, I don't see that moving much.
Probably not.
So what I was trying to add up in my head, I meant to do it right beforehand. It's not quite the same, but this is another great stat for IU football. There's some big lines out there, like, you know, Maryland's 13.5. We'll get to another 14 one that's out there, but Indiana almost had a higher line than all their Big Ten teams combined this year. They're off it by 4 points. They are a 32-point underdog going into Penn State. You add all the other lines, like all the other underdog lines in the Big Ten, it's 37.5. So one of these days, man, Tom Allen and his boys are going to get it. They're going to get, we got to give that a name, like the ultimate underdog, like the underdog of the conference. 32.5.
So 37.5 is what you said the other number is?
So it's, I'll be great. We'll add it up. 13.5 plus 7 plus 2.5 plus 14.5. So yes, 37.5.
I bet that'll be a live line at some point in this IU Penn State game.
Oh, yes, I completely agree with that.
It may not be a pre-kickoff line, but you'll be able to get that sometime during the game. I got a feeling.
And if you did, would you take it?
I mean, would I
don't
give
think
an
Penn
extra
State. I don't
5
think Penn
points
State can score enough.
Oh, really? Well, let's take a look here, Scott. Penn State as a favorite this year is 6-0 covering the spread. IU as an underdog is 2-3, including 0-3 in their last 3. Penn State, before playing Ohio State, beat UMass 63-0. How much better is IU than UMass? You might ask yourself.
I would say probably not by much. Yeah,
not much. I got a feeling this is probably like a 42-7 kind of game. I guarantee Penn State's going to put up 42 points. There's no way we're going to hold them to 35 or less. I just don't see it. Their running game is too good, and we can't stop anybody from running the football. The question is, will they take it easy and bring in the second string and really take it easy on us? I say no. James Franklin likes to cover. Penn State covers with ease. I think they win by 5 touchdowns. I also like the over 46.5 here. because I can see a scenario where Penn State gets that themselves. So
I am so happy. So for all the jokes, I went to Turks and Caicos. It was awesome, Caribbean. Got home Friday night late, like midnight. Was so happy I was back in Indiana, back within the geofenced confines of my betting establishments, or I could put money on Rutgers to cover a 5-point line against Indiana. Like it was. I know you were harping on, or you were hitting it hard before, rightfully so. Man, that felt good. I was never really concerned. I didn't do a whole lot of live betting. So I'm just like, hey, I'm going to, one time I'm just going to enjoy a bet. I'm just going to have a bet. I know I'm going to win. I'm going to feel really good. And then by the second half, everything felt good. That was my takeaway from the Rutgers game. It's like, I feel like that's one of the last few like really nice lines we're going to get.
The over-under on their running back rush yards was like 64 and a half. So really look at some, and so I took that over. I had like $120 on that game in 3 different bets, and I won all 3 of them.
Yep.
Jalen Lucas over 50 and a half receiving yards, barely squeaked by because he got 16 on 5 receptions. So he barely squeaked by on that one. But look at some of these Penn State props. I think you might be able to get some running back props. They're going to look pretty good. Their quarterback did not look great against Ohio State. So they may want to boost his confidence. And so you may see some of that. Penn State doesn't generally have a lot of explosive big plays in their offense. But if you're going to try and get explosive big plays, you're playing the right team. So they may practice a few things, push the ball deep a little bit more than they normally do. I don't see any way Indiana keeps this competitive or close after the first quarter.
Do you have any other final takeaways from the Indiana homecoming loss to Rutgers, where, again, not enough has really been made of the fact that Rutgers not only won, they became bowl eligible, and their coach, Shianu, got the Gatorade bath on our field on homecoming.
No, I don't want to discuss that.
All
It's too depressing. It's like you and Galen are talking about. Like at a certain point, it just becomes, what else is there to say?
Yeah, there's not much.
You know, we're stuck with this. We are absolutely stuck with this until Tom Allen's gone. So enjoy the ride, folks. Make some money.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's tough this week, but yeah, you like Penn State to cover. All right. So next up,
do you like IU to cover?
No.
I mean, I know that's a ton of points. And you know why it's so many points? Because they want you to take the points.
I know. Outside of last week, I'm not really in a good headspace to even bet on this IU team. Like it's too many points. And like, I don't think they're going to cover, but I'm conflicted. I would rather wait, save my powder for a better line against Illinois or Michigan State, maybe.
Okay,
that's how
I'll be there with you too.
Yeah, or you could just do both. So speaking of Michigan State, Michigan State is at Minnesota. Minnesota is a 7-point favorite at home. I'm curious. You and Galen didn't talk about it. Did you have? It was an odd line to be out there. I think it was just on the Action Network and on DraftKings, not on PointsBet. But the number of Hitler images on the scoreboard was at half. And, I don't know if you took the over or not on that for last week's Michigan State game. But it's an odd line, but they don't have that posted for this week either.
It was under specials. You had to go under specials. And I never look under specials. So
specials, World War II props.
Yeah.
Couldn't do a same game parlay with him. It was really, you had to do him on a separate line. All right, Michigan State that's my joke. Michigan State at Minnesota. Michigan State 7-point underdog.
Over under on this one, sitting around 40.
Yep.
40 and a half. I like the over here. Each of these teams in their last 5 games, 4 of them have gone over this point total a piece. So that's 8 out of the last 10 combined. I think Minnesota's defense is worse than they showed last week because they were playing Iowa, who is probably the second worst offense in the Big Ten. So I think Michigan State might put up some points. I think Minnesota will too. Over 40. That sounds good. I'll take it.
Last 2 have had some line movement. You have Purdue at Nebraska. I feel like you've gotten everything with Nebraska wrong this year. Nebraska is a 2.5.
We got it right last week.
I wasn't there. Doesn't count. Nebraska, you're also betting on Iowa over. Your head's in a bad space last week without me. Nebraska is a 2.5-point favorite. This line has moved down. It was Nebraska 4.5 to open. They are now 2.5-point favorites over Purdue.
Yeah, the over/under line on this. I actually went online to look at the weather forecast because I was like, "Is something wrong here?"
It keeps
It's
going down.
39 and a half.
Yeah,
and it's going down. I'm going to take the over here, but I'm going to wait and see if it keeps going down. So I like the over here. These two teams last year put up 80 combined points.
that's a great point.
Against each other. And if you look at their last 5 meetings together, all of them have gone over this total. Their last 5 games individually, each team, much like the previous game, we got a lot of overs that point total. Purdue gives up lots of points. So I think the over here is a good play.
Last one, Ohio State is going to Wisconsin. Again, some weird movement here. Ohio State opened as a 9.5-point favorite. They are now a 14.5-point favorite. I'm not sure why it opened so low, but it is what it is. What do you think about that? Ohio State 14.5 at Wisconsin.
Well, that opening line would have been
it was like a couple weeks ago before
when the game first came on the
before
schedule.
the injury.
So that line's been out for months.
Okay.
And that would have also presupposed that Tanner Mordecai might be playing.
Yeah.
Which is also probably a big deal. Now, Wisconsin scrapped it out last week, so maybe they're not as bad, with their backup quarterback. But this line is tricky to me. I don't like the 14.5. I would love a 13.5. I'd be all over the Buckeyes. 14.5 worries me a little bit, but I think the Buckeyes will end up covering it. So I don't love it. If I were to bet it, I'm buying down to 13.5 or 14 on the Buckeyes. But I do like the Buckeyes to cover that.
Wisconsin is probably going to lose this game, and that's going to put them at 3-2 in the Big Ten West, which will put them like in a tie with Iowa and Minnesota. And if Nebraska wins with that, it's like the Big Ten West.
There's a chance for I saw like a 6-way tie or something in the Big Ten West.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, I know that the odds are awful, but it's like just bet whoever you think is going to win the Michigan Ohio State game. Bet them to win the Big Ten. Like just
that's what it boils down to. And at this point, I'd say it's Michigan because they look really good.
Well, they know all the plays, right? They have the spy cameras and.
That doesn't bother me at all. It really doesn't. The only people I think that bothers are Ohio State fans. Quite honestly, I think they're the only people upset about.
And
this.
Michigan State fans, yeah.
I just assume everybody's taking every opportunity to cheat they can, and if they're not, they should be. And maybe that's why Indiana football is not so great.
I agree. I don't think it's that big of a deal, and I've also a couple people I've talked to about it. I'm like nothing's going to happen. Like I don't know who's going to punish anybody. Like it doesn't really do the Big Ten any good to punish. Like Big Ten's shown they don't punish. They're not going to punish Michigan. Like there's really, I'm not sure what really they totally did wrong. It's like the NCAA doesn't control football anymore. Like I don't know. Like I don't know who's going to punish anybody. So it's like this is all kind of a big nothing burger.
Yeah, it doesn't bother. I mean, it's not like they were going and stealing playbooks or had cameras in locker rooms or something. I mean, the guy bought tickets to a game, watched the game.
This could also be Harbaugh just being like, I don't want to coach like preseason games. And maybe he like contractually they're like he has to coach the preseason games. Like, all right, well then what I'll do is I'll have a scandal every year. I'll have some kind of scandal where then I can just like, all right, I'll be suspended for 3 games. And I don't have to dick around with games that aren't Big Ten games.
Then I don't have to deal with UNLV in Hawaii.
Right. Just like I'm just going to coach the Big Ten.
Kick off against UNLV, not worth my time.
Fellas. Yeah, but I still want the full paycheck. I don't want. Yeah. All right, let's go to our second home, the Pac-12. I feel like half the teams in here are like our teams. USC at Cal. When I think of this, all I think about is a typical ACC Big Ten battle. USC is a 10.5-point favorite going into Cal.
Yeah. I don't like having adopted Southern Cal. They're not as fun to watch as I thought they were going to be.
We can get rid of them. We can kick them off. Their defense is bad.
Now, I know you like Cal, so I'd love to take Cal in the points here.
My dad just went to Cal. I like Cal's logo. I don't like Cal football team.
Oh. Well, I knew you mentioned Cal once about home field. So,
yeah.
I'm going to take the Trojans to cover. I don't love it. I don't plan on betting it, but I think that's probably what happens.
I don't know if we officially added Washington, but I'm just adding them right now. Like Washington and Penix.
Sweet.
Yeah, let's add them. Are you ready for that? I'm just going to add. Washington's on the docket. Washington is going to Stanford. Washington's a 26.5-point favorite. I also heard you and Galen talk a little bit about the Penix props. I do feel like, as somebody who in 2021 bet Penix for Heisman, I think plus 5,000, like I feel like there needs to be a universe where I can just pull that back out and be like, look, I'm not saying I need the full, like I need to go to FanDuel's headquarters, be like, look, I don't need the full 5,000, but it's like, look, I was on this 2.5 years ago. Like I should be getting like plus 500 odds. Like let's just offer me something. I'm kind of pissed that I'm not going to win on that, even though I'm 2 years late. But all that said, Washington at Stanford, 26.5-point favorites.
I'll take the Cardinal to cover.
Oh, all right.
They seem to be scrappier than they let on. Maybe Washington doesn't take them. This is the easiest game left on Washington's schedule by far. So they probably don't need to take them as seriously. Now, after last week, not bearing Arizona State, I think that's where I want to go.
Do you, as you look at the rest of Washington's schedule, they're probably not going to go undefeated. So they're at Stanford, at USC, home to Utah, at Oregon State, and then home to Washington State. Where do you think they lose?
Oregon. Or no, Utah, I mean.
Utah, home. So you think they win the road at USC? Makes sense with the defense. They lose to Utah and then win at Oregon State.
Yes. I think Utah's the bugaboo. The Utah is the death team for the Pac-12 because they just go around beating every other undefeated team in the Pac-12. That's what they do. They're going to ugly the game up. Yeah. They're not going to go out there and try and put up 49 points and throw 5 touchdowns. Nope. They're going to run all over you. They're going to control the ball. They're going to play good, solid defense, and they're going to beat you. I think that's what will end up happening. Yeah, if they get past that Utah game, look out. I think they're headed for the college football playoffs undefeated.
I was going to say, I think even with losing that Utah game, they still could probably make I think it would have to they'd have to make the Pac-12 championship. But I think they could. I think that loss is still in a spot where they could still make the football playoff.
Yes, I do, because Utah's a good team too. Yeah. Let's not forget that.
All right, we have Colorado going to UCLA. Colorado is a 17-point underdog. How things have changed for Neon Dion and his Buffaloes. 17-point underdogs.
They started the year as 21.5-point dogs. So
I know. Right. Do you think is there value again now? Like, has it flown too far?
I think the value's on the over here.
Okay.
UCLA likes to play fast. Colorado likes to not stop anybody. But Colorado also is able to put up some points. So I think over 62.5 is probably the play here.
Okay. All right. Give us your Big Ten parlays. Give us your parlays that are sure to make money.
Okay. So my 3-legger of the week that I've my teaser, I've taken Penn State minus 26, Penn State, Indiana over 40.5, and Southern Cal minus 4.5. That's the 3-leg teaser of the week right there.
Okay. You got anything else?
Not at the time. Not at this time, but I will be posting them to X. Last week we had a lot of bets posted. A lot of IU Rutgers centric bets, some prop bets, some parlays. Some hit, some didn't. But overall, we were up pretty big on the day thanks to Rutgers doing what they did against IU. So keep tuned to at CrimsonCASH 260.
All right. I'm going to hit you with like 2 NBA thoughts if you want. So
all right, let's do it.
My bet of the year has been this, and I'm going to stand by this one. It's purely an odds bet, but NBA Rookie of the Year, I love Chet Holmgren at plus 380. Because the idea here is you're getting last year's number 1 pick. He's a year older. And if you're just like, well, man, he can't stay healthy, it's like, all right, well, neither can Vic. Like, the same thing you could say for Victor Wembanyama. Like, Victor Wembanyama is minus 150. It's like, that's a wild odd for a preseason award. You're getting the number 1 pick last year at plus odds, plus 380. And it's like, if he can stay healthy, I don't know. I think that's a value play there.
I agree with you from a basketball and on the court standpoint. But I think a lot of people have a lot invested in making sure Victor Wembanyama is like the greatest thing ever. So I think it's probably, unless he blows something out, like or loses an appendage of some sort in the next few weeks, he will probably end up Rookie of the Year.
I hear you on Victor Wembanyama. I will say I don't know if I trust the Spurs to play him enough to win that award either. I would also say,
I could see that, yeah.
if you look at like Defensive Player of the Year, he's plus 1,200. I think that's the better bet. If you think Wembanyama is going to play 70 games and be really good, I think you bet him as Defensive Player of the Year versus the negative 150. Go for the plus 1,200 for Defensive Player of the Year. I'll run these through you for MVP. For NBA, I had a pick a little bit ago, but I'm now very concerned considering he scored no points in the second half. But I was betting on Anthony Davis. I got him, I think, at like plus 3,500. He's now plus 2,900. My thought is this: as you go through the top guys in the MVP voting, Jokic is number one. I'm like, I just don't see him winning 3 out of 4. There's the history of how many he's already won, which just puts him into rarefied air, which is tough. Luka Doncic is plus 550. It's like, I don't know. Giannis is there, plus 650. Tatum, Embiid, Booker, Curry, SGA, Durant, Davis, Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Edwards. I look at a lot of those guys in that list, and I just don't know if there's the narrative for them to win, whether they're good or not. Like Embiid is up there. Like Embiid's not winning back-to-back MVPs. Just that's for somebody very special, and I just don't think people are going to give him that. Like, again, Giannis that'd be like his third MVP. For Jokic, it would be his third and fourth year. I think a lot of guys are going to get left out just because it's like, oh man, Jokic is going to win more MVPs than Magic Johnson did in the 80s. Like, it's just, I think there's some narratives that hurt a lot of those guys. I'm just not sure who it's going to be because it can't be Anthony Davis if he's not going to score in the second half.
And you just explained why I hate making those bets, because you are not betting on on-court performance. You're not betting on anything other than the whims and thoughts and narratives of sports columnists and voters for these awards. So that's why I do not like betting on who's going to be the MVP or who's going to be the Rookie of the Year. Now, if it's who's going to lead the league in points, that's a different story. I have no problem making those kinds of bets.
Yep.
But I really don't like trying to figure out what the hell somebody else thinks about Victor Wembanyama,
But yet, we love gambling on stupid stuff, so I mean, you should enjoy it.
I do love gambling on stupid stuff. I'm not going to lie about that.
Do you have any, that's my son just running in and out, slamming doors. It's awesome. Just every time, tell him don't slam the door. And then I just watched him run through our yard and step on one of our Halloween decorations and break it in half and pay zero attention. Oh, kids are the best. Do you have any other NBA? I kind of hit you the NBA off the cuff. Do you have any other NBA bets you like, or just thoughts on the NBA?
No, I'm a Pacers fan, and I think they're going to be fun to watch this year. Look at their early season over under, because if they're going to play at that pace they played at last night, they're going to put up a lot of points, and the defense still isn't great, so they're going to give up a lot of points. So I would look at some Pacers over unders on the early season. If I come across something I like, I'll be posting it to X. But really, on the NBA, I like more like doing player props.
Yep.
On a game rather than looking at the game, because those games, you can do a lot of in-game betting and have a lot of success just by taking teams that get down by a lot. But last year I started to notice a trend where it used to be a team got down by 30 in the second quarter or something like that, or the third quarter. It'd be a 16-point game, 10-point game by the time the thing ended.
Yep.
Last year, I started to notice a trend where teams just kind of gave up, and those 30-point leads stayed 30-point leads. So, keep an eye out for that. But sometimes you can make some hay there. That's about all I have on the NBA. I don't have, go get so-and-so for, most threes this year or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, at the game yesterday, I will say, I think I can see Halliburton going over on assists a lot this year. There was also a point. I was going to say exact same thing in points too. Like a point in that third quarter where it's like you could tell he's like, I got to get over 10 points. He had a couple drives where it's like he was like, I'm going to score every time I have the ball. So I think there's going to be a lot of he's shown that he can I can get 10 points and I need to. So
and you can usually combo like a points assist bet.
Yep.
Points assist total. So yeah, look at those. I think you're right. He's going to have a big year. If they were going to be good, I'd say him as an MVP as a dark horse might be something, but they're not going to be that good. So
he just isn't. Doesn't have the narrative to win the. To your point, it doesn't have the narrative. I just don't know who Like going back to
ESPN doesn't love him. Like,
yeah,
I mean, come on.
They don't like Indiana. Like it's so. I listened to like the Simmons, over under pod, and it's like it's so frustrating as an Indiana fan because nobody ever talks about Indiana. But it's like they're talking about the Kings. It's like, they got Duarte. I kind of like Duarte. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, I listened to all your coverage last year. He was in the Pacers. You never effing mentioned him once. Like,
nobody likes Duarte.
Yeah, it's no knock on Duarte, but it's like you don't talk about him, and then all of a sudden he's off the Pacers. Like, Duarte's a nice little piece. It's like he wasn't a good piece last year. You never talked about him anyway. James, it's good to be back, my friend. As we hit the home stretch here, and we get through to the end here with Big Ten football, win some money.
Yeah, I hope we do. It's sad to see IU losing bigly as they have been, but it's nice to make some money on it at least.
Yeah. Well, James, it's been a pleasure, and I will end on this. I have season tickets with the Pacers. This shocked me. They sent me a promo code to get Bally Sports Plus for free, which is nice of them. I was having trouble doing it on the website. It was a dumb mistake on my part, but it's like I was having issues, and I ended up calling Bally Sports. They answered. Like I was able to get somebody from Bally Sports on the phone, and like there's tech support. I was like, this is going to be a folly of a time just calling. I'm sure I'm going into. They answered. I was shocked.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. I'm like, you guys suck in business. What are you doing answering your customer service?
Maybe that's why they're going out of business, because they're paying people to sit around and answer your damn phone calls.
It was, I will tell you off air what I did wrong, but it was dumb and I felt stupid, but I have Bally Sports now, so I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing. All right, James, we'll catch you next week. Catch him on X at CrimsonCast260. Thank you all for listening. I will have more preview podcasts and more people I'm talking to, and next week I'll have James back on. But as always, appreciate you tuning in, and until next time, Scott for Crimson Cast, signing